to have you join us again for your favorite program. This is Close Flow coming to you from NTA2 Lagos Network Center. Our delight, our great delight is the fact that we know you are just there waiting patiently to meet yet another distinguished Nigerian who is going to be sharing with us his own experiences, his perceptions, and I can tell you probably his own fears and anticipation about how the story or the narrative on Nigeria actually can be changed or is still being repeated. Now, where exactly are we? We know that quite recently we just finished a transition. We are just saying to ourselves that yes, we need to elect new officials who should run the affairs of this country. And many Nigerians came out to participate in that process. Then many other Nigerians decided to opt out by staying back at home and not participating in that process. And then we noticed also that in the systemic evolution of whatever process we were using to decide who should rule and who should be ruled, our expert who is coming to share his own experiences with us today, we look at the ecosystem. How secured was that process? Or how insecure was that process? What are the elements that we need to probably look into carefully and critically and see how those can be corrected if we need to move forward as a country to be sure that our democratic process is also globally acceptable. Now, so what have I said? I've said to us that the 2023 elections have just come and gone. We are still in the process of confirming and making sure that everybody actually can take their certificate and come and take the responsibilities. Once that is done, then we know that we are actually on the way to transiting to a new executive office. So our guest today is also a chief executive in his own capacity. He has had such a broad spread of managerial experience. He knows exactly what we are talking about when we are looking at project development, project management, and project, of course, supervision and auditing. And besides that, is a computerized human. He's not a humanoid, okay? But he's also involved in the deep end of how we can use machine knowledge, how we can use computerization, how we can use, well, I don't want to call it artificial intelligence. After all, the intelligence or the machines were built by humans. So, okay, so how we can use our intelligence to actually monitor how our societies can evolve. All this I've said is because politics is not just about rulership. Politics also is about you as citizens and how you carry out your responsibility as a citizen. So wait and meet our guests, and then you get to see what I'm talking about. That is a huge sackload of information we're going to share with you here today. So stay with us, meet our guests, and then we'll take it from there.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more. Hey, beautiful. Your eyes, your smile are all begging me to take you home tonight.
Now reading page 3.
Experience unlimited super-fast internet access from Entel 4G. Entel. Live more.
And there you have it. And so you have the princely Ade Atobatele with us here. He's a man who has spent over, well, how many decades you have spent in information technology?
I think it's 45 years now.
45 years. You must have entered that industry as a young boy.
I did. I was one of the first people in the UK to take computer science O-level.
Computer science, O level.
Yes.
Ade, don't frighten me, okay? Because I remember when we were growing up, dealing with computer was almost like magic.
It was. It definitely was magic. I was very lucky. I played truant in school. My classmates will tell you that. And when my father took me to London to get a different environment, the subject that I should have taken was French.
Yes.
But I had played truant for the last 3 years, and I didn't know one single word of French, so I couldn't go into O-level French, not knowing any French. And the only other subject on the timetable at the same time was computer science. It was a new subject that they'd introduced to the school. I think it was just that year or the year before.
That it started there.
And that it started. So yes, that's how we all started this long, long journey back in 1977.
Amazing. Now, okay, let's quickly look at the issues at the table. We are looking at 2023 elections, the electoral processes and the cyber security ecosystem. Are we sure we deploy? No, first, let me start this way. How do you look at failure? How do you, when people say something fails, or it has failed, or is failing, do you have any, is there a philosophical way to look at that?
There are usually two ways. It's either mechanical or people. So your car's going along the road and it hits a nail. The tire fails. Or the man is driving the car, he falls asleep, he hits a wall, the man fails. Both of them cause an accident. The end product is the same, but the cause of that accident differs. There's either mechanical failure or human failure. In the case of our election, it was almost 99.9% human failure. There are certain parts of our country that are not well covered by GSM technology. So there is a small part of the country whereby you may not get signal. It happens to all of us all the time. We know those places. But because we also know those places, we also know that if you put it up to the right here, the signal will appear. Or you put it down to the left there, the signal will appear. So it's not something that we cannot predict.
What is going to happen?
What's going to happen. The human part of that, however, I wouldn't like to use the word conspiracy, but I think the law says that when two people get together to do something that is illegal, it's actually a conspiracy.
Okay, let's come back to what we want to deal with here. So, in a way, you have summarized what we think the election was like. But the electoral body tried to use some Internet of Things, the dashboard, all this and all that. Are we saying those things were not properly deployed?
We need to go back one election to the Osun State election,
Yes.
which fortunately has just been completed at the tribunal at the appeal.
Yes.
INEC made a mistake then, and it has created the appeal system, or rather the appeal that has happened now. And the Court of Appeal, I think it was yesterday or the day before, said you made a mistake. You cannot use the mistake to punish the person that won.
Because the error came from you.
Because the error came from you. And the error was a computing error. INEC always talks about we have a server.
Yes.
INEC has multiple servers. It isn't just one server. And so there's an IREV server, there's a BVAS server, and there's a central store server. And what happened in the Osun State case was those servers didn't communicate very well.
The network.
The two servers.
They did not communicate,
and they created a technical problem. We won't go into what that technical problem was.
Okay.
But that is what the Court of Appeal dealt with 2 days ago. The same happened with IREV. So in the Osun State, the one part of the server didn't quite work very well, but that part of the server wasn't available to the public. That was the BVAS part of it, the BVAS reporting part of it. But the IREV did work. But that also makes us realize that there's more than one server. If one part isn't working, but one part is
working.
And so everybody looked at the IREV and said, this thing is fantastic. It is fantastic if your human processes work. Because the only reason the BVAS part of the service didn't work in Osun State was human error, not technical error.
Now, when you say
in other words, somebody didn't push a button when they needed to push a button.
So the operatives.
Didn't do what they were supposed to do. The system did what it was supposed to do, but it also requires human supervision.
Okay, now you are an IT expert, Ade. Now, the thing is, some guests we have had here also raised this same issue, that INEC would need more time to train, educate, reorientate the staff.
That is exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. You take ad hoc staff and you train them for 24, 48, maybe even if you are lucky, 3 or 4 days. And then you ask them to operate a complex piece of software, which requires sequential order processing in a particular way. And if you don't do it in that particular way,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work. Not that the machine failed. There was no nail in the tire. It was the man that fell asleep at the steering.
On the steering wheel.
On the steering wheel. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. This is down to training. Of course, sometimes there wasn't a signal. And that is where INEC now did another conspiracy. We all said that BVAS had the capacity to upload.
Yes.
And we were expecting it to upload. But what should happen when BVAS cannot upload? What if the mast that was standing next to you suddenly fell over? In other words, it wasn't even your fault. In other words, what if the GSM mast had a problem on that day? Where was the supplemental fallback? So in prior elections, we have had the situation whereby party agents follow the ballot box all the way to the collation center. But because we were now waiting for BVAS to do it, INEC got rid of that procedure. So the chain of custody of the ballot box suddenly disappeared. And that was where all the shenanigans happened.
Okay, now I like that. We'll find a way to correct that, but that again is something that we want to look at from the back. Now, something else again, Ade, that many Nigerians are looking at is the fact that cloud technology is not essentially homogeneous. It is not indigenous. It is not. We don't control it. It is it's taken away from us, and so it is possible that in terms of cyber security, it can be tampered with. Can it not be tampered with?
First of all, cloud security exists in Nigeria on Nigerian soil.
It exists?
It exists in Nigeria.
And it's secured?
And it is secure. And if we were being honest with ourselves, we shouldn't be looking for foreign vendors when we have local vendors. There are local vendors that run cloud services, secure cloud services, selling to financial institutions in Nigeria by Nigerians. And we are not patronizing them.
Wow.
So we do not actually need to move this cloud to a foreign land, whereby it's now under somebody else's jurisdiction.
Yes.
We can keep it in Nigeria because there are vendors today that provide those services, at least 3 or 4 of them.
No, but some Nigerians are pointing fingers. Well, I know when one finger goes out, 4 comes back to you. Some Nigerians are pointing fingers that it is possible that the IREV was having tampered with by some of these high-tech experts, as it were.
If it was tampered with, why are we still seeing data being uploaded? It was tampered with for 4 weeks? I mean, come on. Come on. A tamper, somebody burgles your house and you sit there for 4 weeks allowing him to come and go? I mean, where does that stand up to reasoning?
All right. Again, you are giving it back to us, like one finger going out, 4 fingers coming back to us. Okay. All right. Let's look at what some other people are also saying, and you have said this somewhere before. It's about the Nigeria Gen Z, Gen Y. You know. So is life about going fast to make money, or about going slow to make an impact? What you have experienced that when you were growing up. You gave us just an instance.
I was saying to my daughter on the way here that in the last 20 years, the digital divide across the world has gotten larger. When a man can lose $40 billion in a week and keep on smiling, you have to ask yourself, what else is there? And how did he lose the $40 billion? And you ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing that he's doing differently? And of course, that sets you off on a race. Now, before people were making money from things that were tangible, Dangote has a factory somewhere. Femi Otedola has a ship somewhere. But a man that runs Flutterwave or runs whatever, you can't see his visible means of support. And then he suddenly buys a house in Miami for $7 million. And you ask, where did that come from? But he worked for it. He worked for it. He just did digital services rather than manual services. It's the difference between having a hoe and having a tractor. What you can do with the same amount of time that God gives you is different. But not everybody sees it like that. And then they say, I want to be able to do that. And all of a sudden, they want to jump. They want to have the fast-track money that, after all, he did it. But you don't see how he did it. You're seeing the top of an iceberg. And you don't see all the work that was done underneath.
Okay, well, I like that. So you are telling our young people,
there is still work to be done. It doesn't happen overnight. Yes, we have the ability to make more money because now, through the internet, we have a bigger distribution network. If you have only 500 shops, there's a certain amount of money you can make. If you have 50,000 shops selling the same Indomie, there's an amount of money you make. There's still only one supply chain. It's not as if you put in 10 times as much effort because you have 50,000 shops. So we're making more money now because we have access to better distribution.
Okay, now, blockchain, which we are just making, which is like a slight reference here. But isn't blockchain something like we learned and grew up with when we say we are adding value chain to what we do? Are we not saying the same thing? Is that not a modern language? Are you trying to twist our brains?
Blockchain is just a way of verifying the truth. It says, if I tell 100 people that this is the truth, and you can ask them, that's better than asking just one person.
Okay, you ask 100 and the 100 can confirm if that is the truth.
And there's only one person just said, well, I'm not too sure if he's been bought, he hasn't been bought. But the ability to buy all of those 100 is a little bit more difficult. And blockchain is nothing more than that. It's a means of securing trust.
I see. This trust, is it tangential? Is this trust, is it between you and I, or between the person who is selling, who is giving out the commodity, and the person who is going to buy?
It's between the person that recorded a transaction. It says, did that transaction really happen? Well, 100 people say yes, and they can prove it. One person said yes, but I'm not too sure if you paid him to say yes. I believe the 100 people.
I like that. Now, something like, because you are a priestly Yoruba person, okay, I'm going to bring this up. Historically, okay, a binary calculus was used by the Yoruba in virtually every aspect of our lives, okay?
We were
IFA and all
great
that
traders.
definition. Yes.
Divination, as you
Yes,
rightly pointed
yes,
out.
yes. Now, but are you not disturbed or angry or disappointed that we have not found a way to redeploy that vast heritage, that vast knowledge, to develop our own indigenous computerization? Why is that difficult for us to do?
I always wonder how people say they discovered us when we already existed. And I think that really is the beginning and the end of it. You go down a river and you find a sprawling community that are thriving and whatever, and you decide that you have discovered them and they need saving. Saving from what? It's usually saving from you. And really, that is the beginning and the end of it. It's a way of it's a way of imperialism. And what tends to happen during imperialism is you wipe out the history of the people that you fight, the subject, so that you can bend them to your will. I was saying to my wife yesterday that people don't ask why the Crusades started. That if you ever realize that the Crusades were started by one pope who had political problems, and that the people who did the Crusades were living in pigsties, while the people that they wanted to liberate had running water, clean buildings, and everything. Pigsties. And of course, the victor always writes the history.
All right, okay, we are going to come back. My producer says if the prince keeps speaking, many Nigerians will not join this conversation. We'd like you to join the conversation because it's about you. Ade has already thrown the ball into your court. He said to you that those who came to tell you that you have been discovered. We'll come back to that. Just stay with us. We'll take a break and then we'll return.
We must dilate the eyes. We look for if they have cataract, look at the back of their eyes. They have glaucoma. We do a full workup for them.
A lot of our government should actually open their eyes, especially southwest of the state.
We're going to be looking deeper than we ever looked in before to ensure that we close all the loopholes.
It manifests as physical support.
Every edition is an arresting conversation with distinguished Nigerians from various strata of the society, bearing their minds on how we can realize the Nigeria of our dreams. Join us live on Close Flow, Monday, every week here on NT2 Lagos Network Center. Close Flow. The conversation is about you. He's still with us, very princely, very regal, and he has also, as it were, touched our minds by letting us see that life is not just about accepting everything that you see or that is thrown at you. You also must find a way to. Okay, let's give you the numbers so you can join this conversation. You can ask him all your own questions or queries if you don't agree, like he says to us. So blockchain can prove something for you, or you can actually sell more now digitally than ever before. So these are the numbers. You can WhatsApp us on 080-2038-4130. Let me run that slowly so you can take it properly. WhatsApp only, dedicated to WhatsApp only. 080-2038-4130. Now, if you don't have data, but you have credits on your phone, then you can either call or SMS. So you can send SMS to 080-6350-8434. SMS only. 080-6350-8434. Or if you want to hear his, let me say the Queen's English, but if you want to hear his sweet voice, he says he will end up speaking Yoruba. So if you call him, okay, so you can call on 070-5079-1632. 070-5079-1632. I said 070, not 080 for that a live call. Now, okay, Ade, something else again that Nigerians are dealing with. I know you have said to us that, yes, historically, we can change our narrative if you know what we are doing. But some says that poverty has been weaponized in Nigeria through classification. Yes. So you have the elites, the super elites, who are just about 2% of the entire populace.
If that.
And then, if they're up to that.
If they're up to that.
Yeah. So what happened? How did we get so massively blindfolded to be kept in the big pigsty, just like you said?
I really don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that a couple of years ago, it bothered me so much that I actually did a 1.5-year investigation into this thing, and
a year and a half.
Yes, and I now tell people that I ask them a question: how many people do you know whose grandparents were rich? We're all self-made in this country. We're all just one generation away from poverty. And so the attitude of the elite to their brothers and sisters completely and utterly baffles me. It's as if they suddenly want to live in a different ecosystem on the moon, forgetting that they are just one generation. Chimovia's father was not rich. Femi Otodele's father had just a small factory.
Yes.
Dangote didn't even have a father that was rich.
Yes.
All these people and all the people that we currently classify as being the elite, so to speak, short of royalty, are only one generation into it. And they act as if they've been there before the Queen's brother was. I don't really understand it. And as soon as people get a small amount of money here, they move and they build walls around themselves. And it is they are very far away. The only reason that somebody like Emefiele can do what he did is that he gets in an air-conditioned car, out of an air-conditioned house, into an air-conditioned office, back into an air-conditioned car, into an air-conditioned house, and has no idea whatsoever how the Kekemara man is behaving. He has no idea. And as I said, what pains me more than anything is that people like that were not born rich.
Okay, now, I like that. You have given us a graphic.
We don't have the concept of philanthropy in this country. We have the concept of I want to project my agenda. I want to project me. So I go and I put money in something that bears my name. But
so that everybody will know it's you.
That it's you. But very few people build things that are for the community.
Okay, let's come back to what is being done outside of here, which also you represent. Bootstrap computing, for instance, right now. Now, so would that be of any benefit to developing communities like us, like Africans, where we know that, just like you have said, philanthropism is more like a selfish business here in Africa?
Thank you very much for bringing up Bootstrap. The 1.5-year investigation manifested itself as the project Bootstrap Africa, when we realized that when people get money, they only put it into the top. Whereas if you wanted to actually increase the GDP and affect people, what you need to do is inject it at the bottom. The poor people, if you live in a face me, face you apartment and your neighbor's child gets sick, everybody contributes.
In that community?
In that community.
Yes.
If you get sick in a road where there are walls and doors, it is only you. We lose the concept of community. And because we lose that concept, we don't realize that building from the bottom up, first of all, creates a structure that is manageable and solid foundation, and feeds the people that are in this country. 80% of our population do agriculture. we live in Lagos and we believe that the rest of the country looks like this. It doesn't. And a 5,000 or a 10,000 naira difference in a person's life at the bottom of the pyramid is life-changing. Life-changing.
And it's sustainable.
And if we that have the education and we that have the governance need to come up with methodologies that make it sustainable. And that's what Bootstrap is about. Putting those methodologies in place. Now that we can see, because many people think that they can see, but when you ask them, they have no idea. I ask people that, so where do your workers live? I don't know. Well, how do you know that they have problems coming to, whether they do or not have problems coming to work? Well, they come to work now. Why? You don't know. There are many people who have not gone as far as Agege and have lived in Lagos for maybe 20, 30 years. They have no idea what those places look like, how you would get from one place to another. In the old days of LMTS, when it was easy to move around Lagos, people mixed a lot more. Now that traffic and transportation is a lot more difficult, you tend to stay in a very small area and you have no idea of what is going on outside that area.
Okay, now you have nailed it again, and I must thank you for that. So let's just because both of us practically went through the traffic situation. So what are you going to say about that? What do you? Is it not possible for us to develop a software that can actually manage traffic in Lagos or urban centers where we have critical issues like this?
Lagos State is one of the few places that has a plan. And the idea that software can help, yes it can, but mass transportation is really
needed.
It's needed. And mass transportation to new areas and making sure that businesses don't all try and group themselves in one area. That is what is going to move people, not all coming into one tiny 3 square miles of it. When Echo Atlantic started, I asked, my wife said, if they give you, would you buy land there? I said, definitely not. If they gave you land,
yes.
Yeah, of course, if they give you something for free, you don't say no. I said, I wonder what will happen when that place fills up. And Amadou Bello and Ade Atobatele are the only ways to get
in and out.
I mean, what are we thinking? So what will then happen is that place will now become an area that people only move inside that area, further moving them away from what happens to real Nigerians in Lagos today. Further moving them away from how people have problems. And if you don't know the problem, how are you going to solve it? And you're the ones that have the ability to solve. Hence, the divide is getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Okay, all right. We are still waiting for Nigerians to join us in that call because it's very critical. Ade is saying something there, showing us the impact and the import of some of the things we are doing as a nation. Now, another element of what we're dealing with now is the fact that everywhere in the world is saying data is now king. Data is now the new royalty. So if you have data, you can determine what's going to happen in an environment and all that. But do we have the capacity in Nigeria, for instance, to truly capture data and authentically deploy or employ that data to?
I think mechanically we have the ability to capture anything as well as you're sitting in Washington or sitting in Dubai or sitting in London. Do we believe that data has value that needs to be captured is a completely different question. And again, my wife and I have these conversations. So I asked my wife, I said, it is supposed to be that you cannot get a master's or a PhD without original research. And we generate a whole bunch of master's graduates and PhD graduates every year from so many universities. Where is the archive of what this
The
original...
research.
Because somewhere in there is the gem that is going to solve problem A, problem B, problem C. But when we don't even record, even the things that we need to do, we don't record, there's no... So she was telling me that when she was doing her master's, she started looking and there was no archive. And so I now rank one of the VCs in the University of Ibadan who said, even my professors today don't archive. And that one of the reasons that she was actually getting accolades around the world was that she doesn't write a single paper without archiving. So yes, data might be the new oil, it may be the new gold, the new whatever you want. If you don't have the mindset that it is and I want to capture it in the first place, it's no use to you. The only reason that we've got oil is that some tree died millennium ago, and it wasn't us that put it there. We're just benefiting from something that happened millenniums ago. We can't benefit from this unless we have the mindset that the data is worthwhile saving. It's only after you've saved it that you can use it.
Okay, thank you again for that. Now, so Ade, something else again that is on the table is the fact of, so we're dealing with disinformation, misinformation, and malignant information.
Big problem. Big problem. During the election,
yes,
several supposed phone conversations were shared virally. And every time they came to me, I would tag them with a website whereby it was being created. There are, in the last 6 months or so, there have been a numerous amount of websites where you can freely go onto a television station, record what the man was saying, put it into the computer, and then alter it. So we have, not just in our society, not just in Africa, but across the world, we need to come together and figure out how to manage what they call deepfakes.
Yeah.
Because it will cause a lot of anxiety, emotional distress, let alone stealing. There are so many things that can be done with a deepfake. It's going to be a societal problem that is going to go around the world. It's not just a Nigerian problem. It's not an African problem. It's not a European problem. It's a worldwide, global problem.
Now that you have said that, that also will raise the issue of, the recent worries being expressed by some scholars. The biases in artificial intelligence, that is AI algorithms, the biases also in ChatGPT, that's auto responses and all that. Now, if these fears are there, why are we therefore deploying these technologies globally where we have not done what you have said we should do? Sit down and see how we can be circumspect in what we're dealing with.
I am, therefore I can. And this is a nuclear war race. The people who put out ChatGPT in the last 3 days said, we are going faster than we know how to manage it. But if we don't go this fast, somebody else is going to come along. And that has been true since November, when ChatGPT first came onto the market, first became open to everybody. The rate of evolution in AI has been a hockey stick. Before we were going around with what we call a long tail.
Yeah. But
and
now,
then since November, it is a hockey stick. Every day there is a new announcement. And nobody wants to be first to be last. And so people are now throwing off the ethical shackles and saying, we just need to get market share. Once we've got enough market share, then we'll put the ethical things back on. But if we don't get the market share now, somebody else is going to do it. So Google is ridiculous. Is Microsoft is ridiculing Google,
Yeah,
who
Google is
now who had this technology 2-3 years ago, but didn't know how to ethically deploy it. Who now said, "Well, we can't wait anymore. We gotta enter this race." I think they made a mistake, and 5% of their share price came off, which came to several billion dollars. Those are things that shareholders don't take lightly. And so right now, it's a nuclear race.
Okay, now we have said it. We have said that it's a nuclear race, and that truth, again, may also resurface when we are looking at metaverse, when we're looking at Web3. Are we also in the same, as it were?
I think most of the VC money is going to go into AI. I think metaverse and all of that might be something that comes out of the AI further down the road. Once the thing, God only gives you 24 hours. And we don't think of those 24 hours as being finite. But there's also a finite amount of money in the venture capital world. And right now, that money is going towards AI and not the metaverse.
Okay, before we leave, because my producer is saying to me that, well, there are other things that Ade is going to talk about. But telecom is a highway to the web.
Yes.
Telecom in Nigeria, the highway is not particularly safe or friendly for Nigerians to travel on. So how can we correct that?
Part of the problems that we have is that we've been colonized. And we always look towards what people that colonized us do as if that is the way forward. On the other hand, most of the progress in innovation at a retail on a one-to-one level, in other words, we're not doing sort of bonds and hedges, is actually happening in East Asia.
Yeah.
And they are coming up with methodologies that are very, very different. And one of those methodologies is taxation to provide digital access. We provide roads out of taxation. Why can't we provide digital access out of taxation? We provide roads because it's a supply chain issue. Without the roads, the produce can't move from A to B. Well, the digital highway is also a supply chain issue. What we should be looking at is how do we get these things into the hands of everybody
in the country
free, because the tax has paid for it up front. We don't toll our roads. We don't say if you want to come from here to Obalende,
you have to pay a toll.
There are 15 toll gates in between here and there, because that would slow down the supply chain. So once we can change our mindset and understand that the digital highway is the supply chain to the future, then we can figure out how to cost it properly and give access to everybody, so that where there is where there is skill set, there is now also opportunities.
All right, Princely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You can see what I was saying. The basket. I mean, I've said the basket. The bundle is like an ocean liner. We have to get you back.
Whatever.
We have to get you back. Okay, for our viewers, I should apologize again. Many of you couldn't reach us. I think we have some technical problem there, but next time we'll try and make sure, just like Ade says, to overcome all that. But thank you for watching, and be here again with us for the next edition. Before we bring Ade back, I'll make sure I let all of you know so that you can be ready for us. But until next week, be never over on Close Flow. Go to all our social media handles. Go there so that you can then join Ade in that conversation and say part of what you want to take away from what I just said. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.